Hi, welcome to the MHO AMA or Ask Me Anything today. And today we have a couple people on with us from the MHO team. And I want to thank everybody for taking a little bit of time out of their day to be a part of this and get some questions answered. We know there's a lot of questions kind of floating out there about internet connections, what's good for essential businesses, what's best redundancy for essential businesses, what's maybe good ways to work with an Ethernet from home. All those types of questions we want to tackle today with the MHO team. My name is Justin Kraft. I'm going to moderate this today. And I do want to introduce a couple folks from the MHO team, MHO Networks team. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Kevin Schwickrath. I'm a lead engineer here. I kind of handle everything that needs to be handled in the background, so that way everything runs smoothly for whatever you may need.
Hi, I am Jessie Brewer. I am the channel manager for MHO. I deal with sales and customer service.
Perfect. So I guess just as a kind of quick intro discussion, I know you guys are kind of in the weeds with this since the world's kind of changed over the last few weeks. And I just want to know if there's any kind of observations or anything you guys are seeing from a business perspective that would be a reason for to go beyond a fiber option and dedicated, wireless internet, or how people are actually working with their internet functions from an essential business standpoint and also from their homes.
Well, from a technical perspective, I would say a good majority of our customers are taking advantage of our upgrade capabilities, where they can upgrade the connection oftentimes without having to do any physical changes with our infrastructure, their own infrastructure. We can just remotely upgrade the speed for their connections. We've also had some potential customers reach out about new locations they're standing up, as well as county has also reached out recently about potentially standing up some connections for them, and field hospitals, things like that they're going to be. Hopefully, they won't have to, but they could be setting up if things get out of control for them in the regular hospitals.
Yeah, are they actually looking at, Kevin? I'm just curious, just from my own observation standpoint, that I've seen some of my own questions. Are you seeing that as more of a redundancy solution for dedicated wireless, or are they looking at using like a dedicated wireless solution because it's a fast option that's also a secure option? What are the reasons kind of for that, or what are they looking for?
Well, I would say right now, majority of the people approaching us are after the scalability and flexibility that wireless provides, rather than the redundancy. If you would have asked me in January, a lot of people were coming to us for redundancy, but right now everybody is just trying to put water on the fire rather than trying to figure out the backup solution. They're just trying to get a solution in place, and because we can put things in so quickly, we come to the top of that list.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump into some of the questions that we've actually gotten some questions in advance of this event. So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into those. And I think some of these might be sales related, or more on the side of maybe what Jessie can answer. But Kevin, jump in. I'll let you guys kind of decide who wants to take what. But there's kind of some general questions actually related to MHO. So when somebody works with like a dedicated wireless, can they actually see what their utilization is over the connection, and how does that kind of work? Yeah,
there is a graph page that they can look at to see the utilization on their connection. We provide a link for them to log into that and to open those pages up when we hand off a connection, and it'll show a 1 hour graph, 24-hour graph, a 7-day, and a 30-day. So it's a static graph that you can just refresh, and it will repopulate with data.
Yeah. Does that then allow for people like almost in real time then to make utilization changes just by like calling you? How does that kind of work?
Yeah. So if they see that the connection is, maxing out, say they have something really low tier bandwidth, like a 10 megabit connection, they're able to see that, the utilization has hit that 10 megabit, and they can then initiate that call with Jesse to get the upgrade rolling. It's usually something we can handle, I would say, same day, within a couple of hours, if it's really important.
Awesome. I could see that being kind of an issue right now, because bandwidth changes are fluctuating, I imagine, quite a bit with all the kind of craziness we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
So when how does somebody, let's say somebody has a connection already. Here's one of the questions we had previously too. What kind of SLAs are included with your connection? So service level agreements, for those that don't know what that means.
So MHO publishes our SLAs at mho.com/SLA. From there, you can find the internet SLAs and the Metro Ethernet SLAs. I would say a majority of the numbers you're going to find in those SLAs don't really apply to what you're going to find in real life. Not even close. For example, I think the latency SLA says something along the lines of 45 milliseconds. You're going to see around 2 to 3 milliseconds within our latency, or within our network for latency at the maximum. So those are just the maximum numbers that the SLA provides, but you're going to see far better numbers inside. But there's also things in there for installation, how long it takes us to get an installation in, how long it takes for us to do a repair. For example, we offer a 2-hour repair guarantee. So if the connection goes down, we'll have it fixed within 2 hours, and it's not just we call you back, it's actually repaired and operational again. There's some other things in there for like jitter and whatnot, for your VoIP calls, things like that.
Great. We have another question on just in general. What are the products that that MHO offers, just in general? Because it's a little hard. I can see why somebody's asking this question. It's a little hard to, if you're on the website, it's a little hard to understand. You have enterprise, you have a bunch of different options available, different bandwidths, different, basically everything under the sun that you can see on the website. So maybe you can give us a little synopsis of some of those differences and what actually MHO does offer as a product.
Okay.
So we do offer dedicated internet access. That is business level, symmetrical speeds, carries all of our service level agreements. And then we do offer Metro Ethernet. So it's kind of connecting offices in the same marketplace in order to be able to access the same documents and things like that. We do also offer NTU sites as well, and that allows us to lower the pricing a little bit in order to provide service to multiple people in one building.
Can you explain MTU, what that means, just for our audience?
Multi-tenant units. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. That's my job to make sure we're clarifying that. So, so as far as differences in the products, then it just kind of really depends on the business, right, Jesse? And are you finding that there's more bandwidth that's needed within a particular industry type, or a different product set within a different industry type?
I know with our Metro Ethernet being able to connect multiple offices, especially like hospitals, medical groups, people are actually starting to request a dedicated internet connection to allow the people who are working at home to be able to VPN and access all those things that they normally would in the office. So I would say our biggest increase is actually in the dedicated internet access in order to have that higher traffic coming in.
Yeah, okay. This next question is actually similar to one we kind of answered at the beginning, Kevin, but it's just, how fast can I get an install? Because right now, we got companies, I imagine, you have fiber companies out there that are backlogged and also are concerned about their employees and everything else that, who knows how long or how fast they're going to be able to stand something up. And we got critical business functions that need internet. So how fast can somebody get an install with it doesn't even have to be MHO, just with a dedicated wireless service. But I think this is a really important question.
So first thing I'd like to address is that we're still operating at full capacity as far as our field teams and everything goes. Even if they don't have work to do, we're keeping them busy, doing maintenance on the network, things like that needs to happen anyway. So our team is still rolling. Everybody else is working from home. So we'll ask that if we do end up doing an install for somebody, that we want to make sure that we're staying away, doing the social distance thing, as well as some other protocols that our team is following right now. And as far as the installation times go, it really depends a lot on just the paperwork. So that way I don't make the people over in billing angry. We don't do the installations without having all the I's dotted and then T's crossed. We can do one in as little as a 24-hour notice. So if someone were to come to us at 8 a.m. On a Monday, we could potentially have service by 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. That's a very expedited, we can't do that for everybody, but that's the shortest turnaround we can do. Our typical installation is a 10 business day. So, if you need it in the next 2 weeks, we can usually fit somebody inside there. Oftentimes, though, those are, 6 to 4 days on just a regular turnaround.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. I've heard stories. I think you guys even have a case study I thought I read. I've heard stories where it can be months before like a fiber provider can actually get in and get all the, get through all the hoops that they need to get through with the cities and everything else and permits and depending on where they're at or what they need. So that's fantastic that, if somebody's looking for a dedicated solution, it can happen very quickly with you guys. So the next question we just got in is, what is the highest bandwidth you currently offer?
So for dedicated internet, the highest bandwidth is 1 gig, and it is for Metro Ethernet as well. We did start a new product that's kind of similar to dark fiber, which would be like a Metro Ethernet connection between 2 locations that doesn't actually touch our network, but it is going to be up to 10 gigs.
Okay. Is there any details around that you want to add to that, Kevin, on what that means?
Yeah. So that new product is contingent on a number of line of sight things, being able to hit specific locations or whether or not it might be able to hit a specific tower. So it's something we'll have to do a site survey or an engineering study for each individual case on those higher bandwidth options. So, but we do have some new radios that are coming out into our network now that are very powerful and able to pass a lot of data.
Fantastic. Another question, and we might need some clarification on this one, but I'll pull it into the chat. How well does video chat work with your service? Since some of us are working from home, is the question. So I know a lot of us. I mean, I've experienced my own problems with video chat, even though we have a good connection right now. A common question is, within the service, how does this work with people working at home?
So we built our network with voice being a primary thing that's going to be traveling over it, because when we were constructing this at the time, a lot of people were giving up their PRIs in order to switch to a hosted voice solution or to switch to SIP trunks, where they would have a telephone system inside their office, but it would still connect over the internet to a SIP provider. So we built the network with that in mind, and so it has the capability to provide that latency and jitter numbers that you would see as if it was inside of a single building. So you're not going to be having choppiness or problems with calls or pixelated video as it runs over our network. But like once everything hits the public internet, it's hard to say where it's going after that. I mean, it's just up to the internet, I guess you would say, where things flow, up to the BGP tables.
Okay, great. I hope that answers the question. Another one we got it's kind of a two-part question. How do you determine you can provide service to a location, and then what does a site survey entail? You mentioned site survey earlier.
Okay. So there's a couple of different ways that we can look at a site as a possible candidate for our service. Namely, you're going to see Google Earth, Google Maps, and Google Street View. Those are very powerful tools for us because it lets us virtually drive down the street as if we were sitting there. We also use a couple of path calculation tools. Formerly Motorola, they're called Cambium Networks now. That division was broken off, but they provide something called Link Planner that lets us do a path calculation. Some of our other radio manufacturers also offer similar tools that let us do that. And it lets us see the terrain. We can try different dish sizes. We can mess around with different frequencies and things like that that'll let us, modify how we would do an installation to provide that site the most reliable connection possible. That also takes into account not just the terrain, but the amount of rain that is expected to fall at any given time along that path.
Yeah, perfect.
I didn't go over the site survey either.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Once we get to the physical site, we would get our GPS coordinates to where we're going to put the antenna, take pictures of where everything is going to be installed, how we're going to route the cable, and then we would map all that out on a drawing. The tech would draw all that out, and then there's a form that he fills out and he turns into the engineering team that tells us, the physical attributes of the building.
Perfect, thanks. We kind of, there's a question about slow speeds that we had previously, but I think we kind of tackled the speed issue. Does MHO provide equipment? So say you got a service. Does MHO provide routers, provide equipment? What does it provide when you get a service with MHO?
So we don't have a managed router or managed firewall product at this point. It's something we've looked at doing pretty heavily, actually. But at this point in time, we provide just the straight internet or Metro Ethernet connection with an Ethernet handoff. You plug in with either a fiber optic, single mode fiber optic with LC connectors, or just a RJ45, like a Cat5 cable, copper cable. Most routers off the shelf, Cisco routers, you can probably even get some other consumer grade routers I wouldn't recommend for it that would work with our service.
Okay. We have another question from Jay Patrick. Curiosity, what is your longest wireless connection?
Let's see. I want to say we have a shot in California that's 36 miles. It's on a 6 gigahertz with 6-foot dishes.
Okay. And follow up to that is just for general knowledge. What is a typical distance you guys like to? What's a typical range you like to work within with the wireless?
I would say under 23 miles, 22 miles, somewhere in there. I think our sweet spot is right around like the 14-mile mark, because it lets us use 11 gigahertz with properly sized dishes that allow us to optimize the tower side.
So needless to say, it can work for a pretty good sized distance. So within a network that you guys are building out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No problem.
This next question, you're going to have to help me with some acronyms here, Kevin. So, do you support HSRP or VRRP?
Yes. We do support both of those products. It would be something that, or not products, or protocols. It would be something the customer would configure on their side. Basically, it allows them to run two routers at the same time in case one of them were to die. It would fail over to the other one. In that case, we would offer the customer a /29 interconnect. Basically, it's an IP block that allows them to have all those routers inside there, as well as ours. And they can go ahead and configure all that up. They would just need, when ordering the service, to specify that that's what they're doing and ask for an IP justification form for our ARIN records.
Okay. How about MHO? Do you guys provide an authoritative DNS service?
We do. Not too many people take advantage of that. I wonder if it has to do with they use DNS elsewhere. But we do have a DNS service as part of it. You can use our caching DNS or authoritative DNS. And we can also do some DNS entries if you have specific IPs that need reverse DNS lookups.
Okay. Couple more questions we had gotten previously. This one's interesting. We are getting a new roof. I always say roof wrong. I say it like a dog roof. So we are getting a new roof. What do you need to do?
So you can contact me directly or call into our support number and just let our team know that you are going to be having work done on the roof. We do a MAC form, which is a move, add, change, and that just pays for time and materials to be able to move it over. Our team will reach out and schedule everything, and then normally we work really well with the roofers to make sure that you have very little downtime and are able to put it back around their schedule.
Do you guys see this often? I'm just curious. Is this is it for when somebody's doing a completely remodel of a building, or when do you usually see this?
It happens quite a bit.
Okay.
Usually we can do it without any downtime because we're able to move it, left to the right or something like that, where we can still maintain that shot to the tower. There's a lot of play in the way that we can do things. But the more notice you give us, the easier it will be on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had people call us the day that the roofers were up there dragging the antenna out of the way. Mm-hmm. I was asked it. We try to avoid that one.
There's I'm assuming this is another protocol question that I got popping up here, but does MHO support, again, maybe explain to me what BGP means, or explain to us what BGP means, and does MHO support that?
Yes. Border Gateway Protocol. It's the backbone of the internet. It's basically how all the routers on the internet exchange how to get to a certain destination. Mm-hmm. We do support full feeds if that's what you desire, or defaults, or a combination of the two. Whatever it is you may need, we're very flexible on that. But all of our towers have routers that are capable of doing full BGP feeds. So you make the routing decision at the tower on the best path all the way out to your destination.
Okay. This one's kind of worded weird, so I'm just going to ask it. So I think a common I think misconception is that you need to have the faster is always better. So when it comes to bandwidth, I mean, there's obviously a difference between upload speed, download speed, and everything that goes into it. But why isn't high bandwidth always the best option for somebody? Does that make sense? I'm trying to read the question a little differently. Because the question reads is, why do you not need as high a bandwidth with your connections? But maybe you can expand on that a little bit, Kevin.
So our network is pretty efficient, as I mentioned before, about making sure that your data gets to the other side as fast as possible and in the order in which it was sent. I would say that our connection is probably going to be on the upper end of quality, so you won't have as many retransmits or dropouts, things like that, that are going to be on another, say, a lower quality line. I'm not sure what that particular question was looking for, but
I think it's related to, like, you keep hearing. So if I got a fiber, if I go get fiber to my house, right? They promise me 60 gigs or something. What does that mean versus an MHO 20 gig solution? Like, because there is a difference in, whether it's a noisy neighbor or whatever you got going on, there is a difference, I think, in how that bandwidth is transmitted.
Right. So our connections aren't shared. So there's that. So if you were to, say, get a 100 meg internet connection with us, you will see that full 100 meg. It's not going to be shared with anybody else in your building, with the exception of the MTU services, which are a little bit different. But the dedicated internet and Metro Ethernet, those are all going to be specific bandwidth options for you. So if you buy 100, you get 100. It doesn't matter what's going on or what time of the day. In addition, just because another service provider is going to sell you 1 gig at a location doesn't mean you actually need that 1 gig. You might only need 50 megabit. Why would you, just because you can get 1 gig over here, why would you pay for 1 gig when you can get more than enough bandwidth at, say, 100 or 50 megabit? Why spend all that extra money just because you can get a little bit more or a lot more, which you're not even going to be able to use?
Yeah, perfect. We also, if anyone has further questions, please list them in the comments section on this video, right below on the YouTube page. I'm more than happy to come back to Kevin or Jesse, ask those questions, get them answered for you. I think another thing to keep in mind too, dedicated wireless at MHO isn't everywhere in the United States. You guys, I believe you're in the Dallas area, LA, some LA areas, San Francisco, San Jose area, Denver, Colorado. I don't think I'm missing any, but those are the primary locations that MHO exists currently. And so if you are in need of a dedicated solution, I think MHO is a fantastic option for you, whether it's a redundancy or a mainline. So thank you guys for coming on, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.